Is OPEC also concerned about the impact of higher oil prices and the burden that that has on consumers?
Well, I mean, it depends on the state of the global economy. I think there are two camps out there. Some view the global economy as resilient and to be able to go through what it's gone through, whether it's the pandemic or subsequently the high inflation rates and all of that. There's another view out there which still believe that the global economy is in danger. So I think consumers right now globally, with oil demand picking up every year, I think that answers the question itself. I mean, we're seeing last year 2 million barrels a day of oil demand growth year on year. This year our projections are at 2.4. Next year as well, around 2.3. So I think this in itself answers the point about are these price levels affecting demand? We're seeing historically high, phenomenally high growth figures for oil demand. And this leads me to the point, you remember, Dan, I've always, through CNBC and other agencies, always advocated for the importance of continuing to invest in oil. This is critically important for the future in terms of energy availability, energy security, and affordability. But today, unfortunately, we're seeing a narrative out there that is pushing companies, financing agencies to avoid and stop financing oil and gas projects. And this is, I believe, counterproductive. We at OPEC advocate for continuation of investments in oil and gas, at the same time decarbonizing the oil and gas industry. And again, I'd like to say that there's no better place than anybody can see in the world other than come here to the Middle East and see what Abu Dhabi is doing, what Saudi is doing, what other countries in OPEC are doing to really move fast and advance the decarbonization efforts. And I think that will be a key outcome at the upcoming COP in Dubai.
So what's happening between OPEC and the IEA? We know there's been, I don't want to call it a war of words, but certainly a disagreement over some of the scenarios and projections. The IEA says peak fossil fuels coming by 2030. OPEC disagrees. Can you expand on some of your commentary in the market on that?
Well, we respect the IEA fully, of course. The projections are that fossil fuel demand will peak by 2030. So let me ask you this and the audience this. This is less than 6-7 years from now. Fossil fuels demand has been at 80% for the last 30 years. It hasn't changed in 30 years. And again, goes back to our earlier discussion about the availability of critical minerals, the availability of everything required to move the whole energy system from a fossil fuel-based energy system to a renewables and all of the above. Because this is critical. What we believe in is that we cannot just replace the energy system that has existed for so many years over a decade or even two. And that's why we continue to emphasize the importance of investing in oil as well as investing in renewable energy, hydrogen, and the important thing is the technologies. Because ultimately we all strive for the same thing, which is meeting the Paris Agreement objectives. But to advocate for stopping investments that are critically required by the world, 80% of today's energy is by fossil fuels, 60% is by oil and gas. To simply say that we're going to unplug from that in 5, 6, 7, or even 20 years' time, I believe is unrealistic. At OPEC, we are not in favor of such an approach. We believe that that actually endangers energy security. Whereas what we're trying to do is promote the investment of oil and gas with technologies that are widely available to a scalable level so that we can decarbonize as we continue to use oil and gas to promote global economic prosperity and growth.